I need to move Grumpy Steve out of this tank into an upgrade actually, but I don't think he's going to be very happy with me moving him. But this tank has to get moved because of the fish room upgrade. So unfortunately, Steve, you need to move. And I think there's an Asian sun catfish in here as well. So this is going to be fun. I've taken all the filters out. To me, that looks like there's a Pleco in here. And this was, a long time ago, an L517, an L397 tank. And I'm looking at that little fish back there, and I can't really believe what I'm seeing, because in this tank, before it was Steve's tank, I obviously missed a fish. Because that there is amazingly, that's a female as well. That is a female L397, and I can't believe what I've just found. That is amazing. Sweet one. My goodness. So yeah, there are some spikes on the tail, but the general shape of this fish, and maybe check out the vent as well. I'm gonna go with female on that one. The vent is very round. Wow. Alrighty then. I just gained another one of these. That's awesome. So my name is Lou, and I'm going to take you around probably the last fish room tour in this fish room, probably, because I'm upgrading this building to a larger building, which is closer to where I live as well. So all of these tanks are going to be moving in the next couple of weeks. And I'm probably going to be documenting the whole thing, sort of how I'm insulating it, how I'm setting the whole fish room up, because it's going to be a bit bigger than this one, and there's a lot of work to do, and obviously moving all the fish as well. So I have been running the fish down as much as possible. I haven't been getting any new deliveries in, and I've just been trying to get as many fish out to new homes as possible before the changeover starts, because it's just going to make my life a little bit easier. So I've just put in some new food actually, which is a dry version of Pleco Pops that I'm working on, and it seems to have brought everybody out. So in this tank there are my L471 mini snowballs. There's also my L236 super whites, so you can see one each of those right there. They're Hypancistrus species. And then there are the rest of the L236 in here as well. So we've got a fella in that cave there. You can see another 471 there. And there's also the black half-beaks. So that's the female. And you can see they've got a lovely dark black colour now. So that's the female, and then the male is that little fella there. Who's got a bit of food in his mouth, so he looks a little bit funny right now. So there's not really too much going on in this tank at the moment. Oh, my discus is in here as well, but it's not very happy that I moved it, so it's over behind the flower pot at the moment. So this has just become a little bit of a hodgepodge of Hypancistrus. Some very, very beautiful Hypancistrus. Is that male going to come out and show us how splendid he is, or is he just going to wave his tail? Is this new dry food going to tempt him out? Is he going to want it? I don't know. Did give everybody quite a good feed yesterday actually as well. So, not really too much else going on in this tank. As you might remember in my last video, there was the Cories pantanlensis in here. They have now gone on to their new home. And yeah, just Hypancistrus in here, spotty ones and stripy ones. Next door, I do have a mustard spot male in a cave, which is a lot better than last time when I'd said that they hated each other and I couldn't even get the male in a cave. So my mustard spot, trying for a world's first documented breeding, not necessarily the world's first captive breeding, but world's first documented breeding, is going better than it has in a while actually, because normally I can't even get a male to go in a cave. Incidentally, this is the only cave I've ever been able to get the male to go in, but he's not on eggs or anything. This is a TARDIS on its side, but you can see how spiky he is. He is splendid. And the female has occasionally been going in with him. The female is there. She's not spiky. Out of the big group that I had, these are the two that I separated out. So I put them in a smaller tank so that they didn't really have too much of a choice of getting away from each other, and they'd maybe think about breeding a little bit more, maybe the hormones would build up a little bit more in the tank. And he's actually flapping as well. Can you see that? He's stopping when I turn the flash on. So we've got mustard spots next door, and then just showing you a couple more of these L236 because they've come out. Really beautiful. Stripy fishies. Oh, the male is actually coming out. Can you see those beautiful long odon toads on him? He's a splendid fish as well. He's a big Pinaculus. He's a good, probably about 6-7 inches, nose to tail. He's a big fish, and I imported him from the wild. But he does appear to... I've actually siphoned a lot of muck out the front of this this morning, so they're very messy. It's probably a little bit too small of a tank for them, but it looks like he likes the dry food as well, which is very encouraging. The tank next door has the Number Plecos in it. Now, I caught all of the candy stripes out of this tank yesterday to go off to their new home. So at the moment, the Number Plecos are all a little bit shell-shocked because they're a very shy species. That's L201 snowballs. So instead, we've just got a load of ramthorn snails with, they're a bit of a mixture in here. We've got some blue ones, pink ones, sort of, I had some brown stripy ones that I think have crossed with the grey ones, so now we've got like grey stripy ones. But you can just about make out a single Number Pleco in the back there. Just about. But yeah, these guys don't normally show up on camera, which is a bit of a shame, but it's kind of been the same with all of the fish room tours. And the tank below has just black chin live bearers in here, actually. Right, slightly turn the exposure down, there we go. Gyrodinus metallicus, off the top of my head, I believe they are. And they are breeding in here. You can see lots of little babies. So what I did is I separated these off into 2 different colonies. So we've got 2 different colonies with a handful of different males in each one. And then what I will do is I will separate out the youngest ones after a little while, put them in a tank all together for the genetic diversity, and just sort of keep going around like that so that the babies keep mixing, and they're not from the same population. But just black chins in here now. There were some L66 king tigers in here. They've all gone. There might be the odd clown pleco in here, and there might also be the odd false zebra as well, because they keep turning up in every single tank for some reason. So I wouldn't be surprised if you did see a little stripy face pop up somewhere. I couldn't have even scripted that. Look on the right. Yeah, I totally trained that fish to do that exactly at that moment. That is brilliant. So yeah, that's a little L173 false zebra pleco with the brown eyes. That's a really nice one, actually. They're supposed to be in this tank behind me here, and I've been trying to catch them and move them, but actually this one did not want to get caught yesterday when I was in here trying to get those fish out to go to their new homes. But that is a very sweet little pleco. Oh, sweet one. That's a really pretty one, actually. I like that one. Next door are the L136B. The common name I think is Angelicus, even though these are not anything like the L005 Angelicus. These are much more hyperancistrosy. So these did breed. We did have a couple of fry from them, which are in here somewhere. They turn up every now and again. It wasn't the biggest batch, but she looks quite round. And I have actually put some more caves in here to try and encourage a little bit more breeding. So hopefully we can go for round 2 with these. Absolutely stunning hyperancistrus with the big old spots. Really good looking. And yeah, I've put a couple more in here as well. There was one in there, but it's obviously been turfed out, and there's one there as well. Next door are the Sultan Pleco pair. So there's one of them. And then there's also some little stir-bite Cories babies in here, which are almost not babies anymore, really. They are looking really good. I think the male is in there. But we've got the Sultan Plecos in this one. And then next door are the beautiful leopard frog Plecos in this tank. And Epistrogrammoides puccopoiensis in here as well. So we've got some really beautiful leopard frog Plecos. Absolute stunners actually. Really, really nice. And then these beautiful little Epistrogrammoides, which are similar to Epistrogrammas, but this is as big as they get, which is about 3-4 centimetres. So they're really, really tiny. Much more manageable than your normal Epistrogramma. Now, I'm in the process of moving Agatha, so her light isn't on here at the moment, because she's going to be going into like a big steel wash tub thing. So I've been messing around with that, so I don't think you're going to be able to see her in here, but Agatha is doing just fine, as is the big common Pleco that's in here. I can't see her. I have put some food in for her as well, but see, there's that big Pleco. But I don't imagine you'll be able to spot her because she is obviously a very dark green colour. And then here we have, it used to be Bugs Pond. It's now my South American community. So I did actually rehome those two Oscars that were getting bullied because they weren't doing too well. So because these two have paired up, I've switched it around. We've got my Taenopoma in there as well. There's a red-tailed shark. There's a handful of hoplo catfish. There is Mascareus argenteus, Jack Dempsey. You might be able to just make out the tail of a clown loach. Got my 4 big clown loaches in here as well. That's my beautiful Taenopoma. Taenopoma ocellatus, so that is eventually going to get as big as the Oscars. But at the moment it's about probably 5-6 inches. There should also be my bircher in here as well. And there's a common Pleco. There should be a sunshine Pleco somewhere. But yeah, it's just it's an 8-foot pond with a lot of my personal fish in it that are probably going to eat everyone else if I put them in other tanks right now. But once we move to the new fish room, I do want to split these guys up into different, like, where they're from. So have all of the clown loaches with the Indonesian fish and have all of the South Americans all together and have a Central American tank and things like that. So ideally it would just be like Oscars with the hoplo catfish and the Plecos, and then the Mascareus would have his own tank ideally because he's a little bit aggy, and then, you know, the clown loaches and the shark go really well together, so ideally having them in a tank all together would be nice. But at the moment it's kind of just about giving all these big fish as much space as possible, so they're oh, I'm really pleased that that little ocellatus is actually doing really well in there. Not ocellatus. It is an ocellatus, yes. But it's not an Astronotus ocellatus. It is a Taenopoma ocellatus, because this is a Astronotus crassipinnis. It is not a normal Oscar. The orange one is. But yeah, they've paired up. Definitely paired up. Above that, of course, we have the beautiful Giardini arowana. My guy, he was fed yesterday, so he doesn't need food, and he's doing really well. He loves it in here. It's a beautiful 7-foot tank that I have just for him, with the aquascape, with the tree coming out the top. So what I do is give him bugs and things, and then he jumps, and he can actually jump over this brace now. He'll jump over the brace like a horse. Shoop. Like that. So I have to feed him from all the way up there. You can see the little gap where I've been sticking my hand through, because he's got some very sharp teeth, and he likes to like hang on to your hand as well once he's got that bite in there. But he's a beautiful fish. He's very, very capable jumper. You can see him there just revving up in case I felt inclined to is he actually going to jump for something? In case I felt inclined to put some food in. But he's a very capable fish, extremely fast. And he's starting to get quite beefy now as well. I think I'm going to be in for a bit of a shock when I move him, because he's going to be going into a pond, and I think he's actually bigger than I think he is. Because I'm used to them, these big fish don't seem as big. But yeah, he's getting some size on him now, and he's absolutely glorious. He's got this lovely, lovely pattern on his scales. Beautiful. And I call him Jar Jar, like Jar Jar Binks, but just Jar Jar. But I am really, really pleased with this tank. I'm going to miss it, because this 7 foot is going. I'm not moving it again. And if nobody wants to come and pick it up, what I'm going to do is pull it apart and use the glass off it. So I might do like a pond with that glass as the front panel, and do like a plywood aquarium or something. But I'm not moving this tank again, because it's so ridiculously heavy and it's so risky, and we're in the middle of a field right now, so I can't even put it on the back of a trailer or something. So yeah, making the most of it for the last couple of weeks before I've got to move this skate, but I will be trying to do something similar in a pond, hopefully with windows, which would be quite cool. But yeah, that will be the end of this, and it's been really nice having it for a couple of months. So, continuing on the tour, around up here, now I moved a little bit fast. I actually moved my Microtonopoma and Sorghii into this tank, because they were up in the top, but it's just orange Venezuelan Cories, and I moved too fast, I've scared them all. So we've got orange Venezuelan Cories in the back here. There we go, a couple more of them coming out. And then my Microtonopoma and Sorghii, which I definitely just moved too fast, because I saw about 4 of them out and then they all flitted away. So they're really, really beautiful red and black stripy fish. Really, really divine. But I don't imagine, unless I actually put some live food in for them right now, that they would actually turn up for camera, because they're one of those that they're kind of a fish just for me, and I have to sit there and be really, really quiet and watch them from across the room if I want to see them, especially not the day after I've just moved them. But we do have some beautiful orange Venezuelan Cories in here. Now this is obviously a shop, so aside from the fish in the ponds, so my arowana and obviously these Microtonopoma and my breeders, all of these fish are available on the website for UK buyers. So that is why a lot of these tanks are very overstocked, because a lot of these fish are only here temporarily, really. But I do occasionally have them reproducing and things, which is good. But it also means that they will be here a little bit longer, because they're reproducing and producing more of them, which has happened with these orange Venezuelans. I keep seeing babies of these turn up. Next door, I've got my, what are they? Cories Weitzmani. I say mine, the Cories Weitzmani. They are shopfish again. And these took a really long time to actually colour up and get really comfortable with me, and actually gain that condition and start looking really impressive, but they're definitely there now. They've been doing really, really well. Down below, there are the thank you. Can you stop doing that so that everybody can see you? These are L262 Hyperancistrus. Some call them the spotted arabesque, or spotted queens, fine spotted. And these are one of my favourites actually. These are really, really beautiful. So I've got a couple of those in here. But I say a couple, there's about 8. And there's some gudgeons as well. Next door is all of the false zebras that are supposed to be in here. There's also my trio of L519s that I kept. But the false zebras are shopfish, as are the beautiful blue phantoms, which are in here as well. So the blue phantoms used to be over in that other tank where the mustard spots are. But I moved them into here, and actually that one's gorgeous. Moved them into here so that they'd have a little bit more space, and there was an awful lot of Rio Paraguay babies in that tank as well. So I separated them all out so that the blue phantoms could get a little bit more food, grow a little bit faster. And then, yeah, we've got the false zebras in here as well, which are not as big of a fish. They're not a very large Hyperancistrus. So I thought they'd probably go quite well in here because at least it's quite clear differences between the two. You know, you can see that's a blue phantom and that is a false zebra. And they'll hopefully stay out of each other's way. And a lot of guppies, a lot of what you lot would probably call mudblood guppies. They're just a random mix in here. So normally if I accidentally suck guppy fry up or something, they will end up in this tank. There's a couple of them that are really old and probably a little bit past it. But they generally do alright. If it was up to me, I probably wouldn't have guppies again because they're everywhere. Same with the crazy little wild colour shrimp. However, I have had some cool results with the shrimp, so I won't knock it too much. And then down below, we've got more Black Chin Metallicus live bearers. And I've also got my Aspidurus Raymondis, which are still breeding, still doing really, really well. A lot of these here were born, in fact all of these here, except the very, very biggest one now, were born here. And we're on to our second or third generation of these now, which is very, very cool. There's a lot of them behind that tangle of wool, but they are doing really, really well. I really love the Aspidurus, very underrated. And then next door to that are the gudgeons and some yellow bristlenoses, albino bristlenoses. But it's mostly gudgeons in here, and they are breeding. Just, I think they're eating their eggs, because I'm seeing an awful lot of breeding activity. I'm seeing males going into tubes, females going into tubes. Females get fat, then they slim down again. But I just think they're eating their eggs, which their previous owner warned me that they would do. But they're a lot of fun, actually. I really quite like these gudgeons. They're very... I've never kept them before. In, you know, a very, very long time keeping a fish. I've never had these before, which... I like it when a fish pleasantly surprises me. But they're very, very pretty and they're very, very fun to sit and watch. They're curious. They're unusual. They don't really fit into any other category with any of the other fish that I've ever kept. They're not like bettas. They're not like cichlids. They're cool. I like them in that way. And I think there's one male of the albino bristlenoses in here. He's definitely got bristles up his nose, and then the rest of them are female. So I might end up with some babies in here as well, but the gudgeons might eat those. If they eat their own young, they're probably going to eat their own. But they seem to like laying in these savu pods. They seem to like the savu pods quite a lot. So I don't know whether I need lots of really tiny tubes in here that the young can like hide in. Whether I need more moss, or I'm not entirely sure. But I will crack this and make it so that I get more gudgeons, because they are really cool. Oh, I can only squat down for a little while longer. Right, we need to move up, and then I've got a light that I need to switch over as well, so that you can see. So in this tank here are my butterfly plecos and my Rio Paraguay breeders. Next door to that are the two very large bristlenoses that I have that I think are two different species. Robbie, you've just laid down on the really inconvenient place. I think they're two different species because the female looks really different to the male, so I don't know whether I'm going to get common bristlenose fry out of those guys. But I do have my very successful Rio Paraguays in here, and yeah, the butterfly plecos. L152, I think they are. Dexteria. And then it got some lovely little clown plecos next door. You can always tell when it's a panaculus tank because of the amount of mess they make. So I've got lovely little clown plecos in here. Up above, these three tanks I've revamped recently actually. These are my breeder tanks. So I've got my L102 Hypercistrus Inspectors in here. A beautiful, beautiful pair of these. And also a cool project I've been working on, which I'm calling them cow shrimp. And they have actually bred, and they've bred true as well. I'm just trying to find a fry to show you. Shrimplet. But they are sort of clear, and then they've got black splodges on them like cows. So I separated like 3 of them out, which one of them is down at the bottom. And they've had a batch of fry, and some of them are a little bit more stripy than I would like, so I'm going to separate those out. But there are some in here that have got very, very convincing cow patterns to them. So I am having a little bit of a play with line breeding some shrimp, and I haven't really seen, you've got sort of like white pinto shrimp, but these are different to that. They're a little bit less structured. The splodges can be like all over the place. So I'm just messing around, really. I don't want to become the next big shrimp breeder. There's a lot of culling, and they're very, very tiny, and they are very easily sucked up. So it's not necessarily something I want to become the next big shrimp person for, but it is very cool when you sort of start messing around with something and then you start getting the babies turning up and they're the right colour. So that's been interesting. You can see there's more snails in here. And then we've got the L397 breeders in here, which I've moved. They were in a tank down there. It wasn't working, so I've moved them. And then I've obviously also got that amazing female that we just found in Steve's tank. So hopefully I'm going to get some fry out of these guys again. They spawned this time last spring, so hopefully I can get some fry out of them. They're doing really, really well. And they're all out and about, tucking into these dry foods now, which have been in the tanks nearly half an hour, and they haven't disintegrated, which is really good, because that's something that always annoys me about dry prepared foods, is that it just disintegrates into nothingness, and then the fish that are kind of slow to get to it, or it just makes a mess really, but the fish that are kind of slow to get to it don't necessarily always get a mouthful after everybody else has had their fill. So I'm actually really quite pleased to see that. Looking good. And then in here are the Microcanthus Vandratis, which I'm yet to get any eggs out of them, but they are very keen about it, and they're very active, and they're doing really, really well as well. So this is about as big as they get. They're really, really tiny, beautiful little Pleco. And you can see that I have a type, can't you? I like spotty Plecos, or I like ones with a lot of spikes and a lot of attitude. So these guys definitely fit the bill, even though they're only about that big. So that's really good as well. This tank's been doing well. So I need to probably... Oh, sorry, I've got dog laid on the floor here. Oh, we might be able to see everybody actually. So this is my awesome Hillstream tank. And that is a flyer Pleco right there. That's one of two that I have. There's also my Medusa Plecos in here. And the Cories Bethany. But I might need to just move this lights over here so that you can see everybody. There we go. So this is a very, very fast flowing tank. Very, very fast flowing. It's about 8,000 litres an hour or something silly. 9,000, something crazy. And yeah, everybody was out, but I think I've just startled everybody. But there's my Medusa Plecos, a couple of random Cories. The White Smarty were in here before, and I've obviously missed a couple. And there's a whole bunch of baby Rio Paraguays in here as well. But it's mostly set up for the flyer Plecos and the Medusa Plecos. Which the flyers started out really shy actually. I didn't see much of them, but actually I'm seeing them every day now. Which is telling me that I'm doing something right. And yeah, even though they're not out right now, I've never seen my Medusas as much as I've seen them in this tank. There is one there, but you can't see it. It's on that rock. But yeah, this tank's doing really, really well at the moment. Next door, we've got the, whoop, come on, focus. We've got the Panda Cories in this one, which I think I've just frightened them. And then in this one is all of the baby L397s that I'm growing out, which I can't see any either. And then we've moved Grumpy Steve. Off he goes. He thrashed about something chronic, and I'm glad I didn't film it because I've messed his tail right up while I was catching him, as you can see. He will be fine. I've put some antibacterial medication in here, but he was not a happy bunny when I tried to catch him, which I knew he wasn't going to be anyway, but he has messed himself up quite a bit. So I will update you in a couple of weeks and just show you that he is fine, because he will be fine. He's just Steve. So yeah, he's in this here, which I've jump proofed and things like that, because snakeheads love to jump. Now, you can never see Phoenix because of the reflections on his tank. You can never see the whole tank, but here is Phoenix. Phoenix, my beautiful emperor snakehead, who is getting too close to the camera and it's not going to be able to cope with it. Phoenix, oh no! But Phoenix is growing really, really nicely. He's probably about 18 inches now. He's a good sized snakehead. He's doing really well. And he's a complete sweetheart, even though he can't be trusted and he likes to jump. But he is doing really, really well, and I can't wait to get him moved into a pond where I'm going to be able to like see him snakeheading around a little bit more, because in here most of what he does at the moment is beg for food, which when there's no glass they tend to not beg as much, but he's definitely turning into a cool looking fish. I have to excuse my cardboard boxes. As I said, we're moving the fish room. It's a mess in here at the moment, but actually the tanks are looking really good. So that is Phoenix. He was supposed to be a red emperor snakehead. The verdict's still out on whether he will be a red emperor or just an emperor or something completely different, but he's definitely some kind of Chinook Marinoides anyway. Yeah, he's just a bit grumpy with me because I'm not giving him any more food. And then last but not least is the tank that's got mostly my red bristlenoses. Some very nice ones in here actually. I've got my little African butterfly cichlid, the diamond tetras are in here, there's a black lancer catfish in here, the albino bronze cories. So yeah, just a mishmash of all the fish that would probably get eaten if they went in with my big fellas. But a lot of them are personal fish and not part of the shop. The only fish in here are the vampires and the red bristlenoses that are shop fish. The rest of them are sort of my community fish that were in other tanks. Oh, and got my reed fish at the back as well. So yeah, bit of a hodgepodge in this one, but it kind of works. So there we go. That is going to be probably the last tour of this fish room with these fish in here. I will show you what we're upgrading to in a future video, but basically it's going to be a bit bigger by about 6 foot in each direction, I think, without measuring. This is sort of like double garage sized, but yeah, the new one is a bit bigger actually. Yeah, it's definitely wider as well, but a lot of work has to happen before it's going to be ready to have fish nicks. It's currently not insulated. There's a great big crack down the side of one of the walls that has to be filled in with some foam, and I then have to catch every single one of these fish, every single one of them, without messing up the biosecurity, because this is obviously still a shop and I can't have some sort of virus or bacteria going around everything and killing everything. Catching everything, making sure the biosecurity stays tight, making sure the filter stays cycled, and then getting them 30 miles up the road, setting them all up again, getting everything warm, getting the filters in the same tanks again, getting the fish in the same tanks again, and yeah, it's going to be a mission and a half. However, all the tanks right now are looking really, really good. It's almost a shame to mess it up, isn't it? But onwards and upwards, and a lot of the fish are going to be getting upgrades. I'm going to have space to set up even more tanks, and I've obviously learned a lot of lessons having this fish room for the last couple of years. Obviously this was fish room 2.0 as it was, because I started off in an even smaller building. But it's going to be really fun to do the new workshop and get that all set up as more of like a permanent place for all the fish to be set up in. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for some more shenanigans as we get the new fish room set up, which is going to be quite exciting. See you soon. Bye bye.